Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢 Sharma.
Hello guys, very good evening. I welcome you all to ForumIAS Hindu Daily. In our today's discussion, we are going to discuss some 5 topics. The first article, Modi bid and welcome, progress in defense ties. It came in the front page and in the page number 8. And this article, which is highly significant for bilateral relation topic in paper number 2 GS, right? Then the second article, change the playbook, repatriate Indian children. So this article, it came in the editorial section, and this is highly significant from the aspect of social issues in GS paper number 1. Then RBI decides to discontinue ICRR in a phased manner. So ICRR means incremental cash reserve ratio. So we all well known some basics about the cash reserve ratio, right? So ICRR, which is similar to the CRR, right? And this article is highly significant for prelims, right? Then IOC's Panipat ethanol plant to hit 100% capacity utilization soon. So this is the fourth article, and here we will be seeing about the ethanol plant, what the government, what the IOC established in Panipat, and what are the generations we are having in the ethanol plant. Okay. Then Rajasthan governor's assent sought for social security bills. So this is the last article we are having. Some bills were passed by Rajasthan's Legislative Assembly in the month of July 2023, but it had to get the assent from governors. So especially there are 2 bills are there. One is a social security bill and another one is the gig workers bill. Okay, so these 2 bills had to get the nod from the Rajasthan governor. So these are all the few articles we are going to discuss today. Now without any further delay, let us dive into the discussion part. This is the first article, guys. Modi bid and welcome, progress in defense ties. So we all well known G20 summit has been going on in New Delhi. So in the silence of G20 summit, both President of US Joe Biden and the Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi, they spent almost 50 minutes in a bilateral meeting. So in that, they actually declared several initiatives, and they also highlighted several deals on which what they have been making a progress. So here in the article, they had discussed about the jet engine deal and the armed drones and the WTO dispute settlement issues. Okay. So with respect to this article, we need to know certain outcomes what India and US have been reaping out of the initiatives. So the first and foremost, the letter of request from the Ministry of Defense of India to procure 31 General Atomics MQ-9B Reaper drones and their related equipment. So we all well known about the General Electricals, right? So their subsidiary is General Atomics, and they have been manufacturing the MQ-9B Reaper drones. And with respect to MQ-9B Reaper drones, guys, there are 2 incidents are there. One is with respect to the assassination of 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐛𝐞, a military might in Iran. Okay, he was assassinated before a year ago. So, and the second incident is in the Ukraine battlefield, Sukhoi 24, which is the 5th generation fighter aircraft. So, Sukhoi 24, it actually splashed fuel on the MQ-9B Reaper drones. So, MQ-9B Reaper drones, they were operated on behalf of Ukraine. And the Sukhoi 24, they were operated by Russian Air Force, right? So these 2 incidents which made MQ-9B Reaper drones to appear often in the news, okay? So they are highly sophisticated drone and they can travel up to 1,500 km without any refueling, okay? So MQ-9B Reaper drone has been used by several countries, especially Turkey and Ukraine. And in the recent times, the countries which are in the Western Europe landscape, they also procured several MQ-9B Reaper drones. And in this line, India also joined the club by signing a deal with the General Atomics. Okay. So in the future, we will be having MQ-9B Reaper drone to do a reconnaissance mission and to gather the intelligence in the Indo-Pacific maritime and in the boundary regions, especially the Indo-China border and Indo-Pak border, right? Then the second outcome is related to GEF-414 jet engines. India actually welcomed United States Congress assent to the GEF-414 deal, okay? So historically guys, India has been spending enormous amount in tailoring a new jet engine for Indian aircrafts. But it couldn't able to produce such an jet engines which produce the enormous thrust, okay? So the jet engines what India is having couldn't able to produce the thrust what the aircraft has been requiring. So that's what the Indian government, they entered into a deal with the United States to gather the technology and to get the GE-F-14 jet engines, okay? So these GE-F-414 jet engines, it will be fitted in the LCA Tejas aircraft in the future. So for the LCA Tejas, we actually made a Kaveri jet engine, right? It couldn't able to match the body thrust ratio what the LCA body has been requiring. So that's what India entered into a deal with the US to procure the GE F-414 jet engines. And along with the GE F-14 jet engines, India will be getting the technology. So that's the key factor here. So with the transfer of technology, India could able to produce a new variants of jet engines in our own country under the Make in India initiative, right? So this is the second initiative they had discussed. Then the third one is about the WTO settlements. So in the WTO, India and the US, both the countries, they were having several disputes. Among them, some 7 pending disputes are highly significant, and within that 7 pending disputes, India and the US, they actually arrived at a solution for almost 6 disputes. But only one is pending, so they discussed about the how to take a median point with respect to the last and final dispute which is pending in the WTO. Okay, so this is the third outcome they had discussed. Then fourth one, which is related to the recommitment in advancing India's emergence as a hub for maintenance and repair of forward deployed US Navy assets and their aircrafts. So with respect to US, they are highly interested in the Indo-Pacific maritime. And moreover, they are very cautious about the Chinese emergence in the Indo-Pacific maritime, right? So that's what they have been collaborating with India to expand their footprints in the Indo-Pacific maritime. And apart from that, in the Indian Ocean region, they are also having a naval bases. So in the naval bases, they have been using the variants of submarines, right? So these submarines, these stealth frigates, these all need to be get serviced. So for that, they have been entering an arrangement with India. In the past also, such deals were happened, and L&T, a private company, they actually entered into a deal with the US Navy to service their naval assets. So in that line, now Mazagon Dock Limited, they are also going to sign a deal for servicing the US Navy assets and their related aircrafts. So with this knowledge, we can generate or we can construct our own indigenous components to be fitted in the upgradation system of naval assets and the aircrafts what India is having in the future, right? So with the exchange of the knowledge, we can generate some indigenous components within India, and it can be fitted into the naval assets of India and the aircrafts of India, right? So this is the major fourth outcome. Then fifthly, it is related to the space, okay? So both sides are working to establish a working group for commercial space collaboration under the existing India-US Civil Space Joint Working Group. So both sides, they have been deriving principles related to the working group what they can designate under the existing India-US Civil Space Joint Working Group, right? So what is the purpose of working group they are going to establish? Because they are having a plan to send some astronauts to International Space Station. Okay, so the International Space Station, which is located in low Earth orbit, and it is an outcome of some 5 countries. So in US, Canada, and European Union is there, then Russia is there. Okay, so these five countries, they partner together and they establish the International Space Station. And with the collaboration of India and US, it is expected that before the Gaganyaan mission, India and US, they will be sending some astronauts to International Space Station, and with the expertise what India is going to get under the mission will be utilized in the future Gaganyaan mission. Okay, so this is with respect to the space. And moreover, in recent times, the ISRO have been making several achievements, right? So in the future, it is expected that the NASA and ISRO, they will be collaborated in several missions. So right now, the NASA has been actively engaging with the European Space Agency. But in the future, their collaboration, there will be a shift, and ISRO will be aligned with NASA, and NASA will be aligned with the ISRO in their future missions. So this is what expected in the future. Then what are the future plans both India and the US is having in the pipeline? The first and foremost is India's plan to invite Quad heads to Republic Day. So every year, we all well know that Indian government, they will be inviting certain foreign dignitaries to Republic Day parade and to the Independence Day parade, right? So in the upcoming Republic Day, it is expected that India will be inviting all the Quad heads to the Republic Day. So within the Quad, US is there, right? So US, Australia, then India and Japan. These 4 countries are part of a Quad. So it is expected that in the upcoming Republic Day parade, US President will be present in that ceremony. So this is the expected plan of India. Then secondly, USA wants India to join Indo-Pacific Economic Affairs trade pillar. So guys, with respect to Indo-Pacific Economic Affairs, there are 4 pillars are there. Okay, there are 4 pillars are there. The first one is trade pillar. Then second, we are having a clean energy pillar. Then third one is related to the supply chain pillar. And the fourth one is related to the tax and anti-corruption. So within that, India is a part of 3 pillars. So India is a part of clean energy pillar and the supply chain pillar and the tax and anti-corruption pillar. But India, it didn't a part of a trade pillar. So that's what USA wants, India to join Indo-Pacific Economic Affairs trade pillar. So here there are certain concerns are there for India. What are the concerns? If India is joining the trade pillar of Indo-Pacific Economic Affairs means, then it may affect India's interest in the international trade. So we are well known how the developed countries, they will be tailoring their rules, right? So they will be tailoring the rules to benefit their own interest, right? So they won't take the interest of what the developing countries have been aspiring for. So this is the major issue India is having with respect to joining the trade pillar of Indo-Pacific Economic Affairs, right? Then third one, the midterm review of ICET will be held in September. So ICET, we had discussed numerous times. So ICET is related to the critical technologies, okay, the critical and emerging technologies. So it is an initiative of India and the US. So both the countries, they have been partnering several initiatives under the ICET. So majorly in recent times, both the countries, they actively collaborating in the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, then cloud computing, then semiconductor chips manufacturing, then in the big data analytics, right? So these are the few initiatives India and US have been partnering under the ICET initiative, okay? So here with respect to the ICET, there will be a midterm review will be held in September, and after that review, both the countries, they will be fostering their participation under the ICET is expected, okay? Then how good relations with the USA are helpful to us? So generally guys, the relationship between India and the US is a symbiotic relationship. So mutually, they have been creating a win-win situation for both the countries. So the first and foremost is the competitive negotiations. So with respect to imports, we have been highly relying on Chinese imports, right? So with the active engagement of the United States, India can leverage its negotiation power with the Chinese government. So with respect to imports and all, with respect to the tech transfer and all, India can do competitive negotiations in the international market. So this is the first benefit what India is getting. Then the second benefit what India is getting is waivers. So with respect to the waivers, we are well known if any country is affecting US interest means, then US, they will impose sanctions, right? But with respect to India, they couldn't able to impose sanctions because we are having an active engagement with the apparatus in the United States. Also, we are having a potential market to US industries and their investments, Okay, so these issues which make US-India relationship a highly concrete one. Okay, so that's what in the 2007 civil nuclear deal, they had provided certain waivers to Indian government, and they had given certain expertise with respect to the nuclear power to India in the year of 2007. And in the recent Russian-Ukraine conflict also, they didn't impose any sanctions upon India. So under the waiver, India has been importing enormous volume of fossil fuels from Russia under the cheapest price. Okay, so this is the second one. The third one is related to the cooperation. So especially security, science and tech. So in these days, India and US, they have been actively broadening their cooperation in the security apparatus and in the science and technology. As we all well know, historically, US is far advanced in science and tech, right? So with this cooperation, India will get the tech transfer, especially the critical technologies like GE F1414. Okay, so these tech transfers, it will potentially help India to achieve the sustainability and reliance in the future, right? Then fourth one is related to the sustainable development. So how India and US is fostering the sustainable development? Because they have been exchanging the critical technology. With the exchange of critical technologies, they will reduce the emissions, what they have been doing historically. Okay, so India has been striving towards carbon net neutrality by 2070, right? So with the exchange of these novel technologies, India can reduce the carbon emission footprint in its landscape, and it will ensure India to achieve a sustainable development in the near future. Okay, so this is the fourth benefit what India is having. Then what are the benefits? US is having a good relationship with India. The first and foremost is market, because India is having a potential market for their industrial products, right? So this is the first and foremost one. Then the investment opportunity. So with respect to India, it is a developing country, right? So we are having ideas, and we couldn't able to utilize the idea because of the absence of the resources, right? We are having a resource crunch. But with respect to US, they are having massive forex reserves. So India, it can garner the investments from US, and in the future, US, United States, they can reap the benefits what the investment they are going to make now. Okay, so this is the second benefit what US is having. Then third one is related to countering China. So China has been emerging, right? So China has been an emerging power, and US, it has been decisively working to countering China in multiple fronts. So with respect to Indo-Pacific Maritime, it can counter China with the help of India's assistance, right? So this is the third benefit what US is having. So guys, with respect to this article, we had discussed about the outcomes what the bilateral relationship between India and the US has been providing, and what are the future plans India is having with respect to US, and the benefits how the USA and India has been fetching in the international domain. Okay, so these are all the aspects we had discussed with respect to this article. Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. This is the second article, guys. Change the playbook, repatriate Indian children, right? So here the author is Justice Ajit Prakash Shah, and he have been discussing certain issues here. Okay, so the Indian mothers, and they were separated from their children in the host countries. So this is what he have been discussing here. And then he have been listing out the impact and what are the measures the government should take in the future. So this is how he have been articulating the entire article. And what is the context? Indian mothers, they separated from their children in host countries. So we are well known, in almost all the countries Indians are living, right? So they may be working as IT professional, or they may be employed in any manufacturing industry, right? So in these countries, they have been facing several issues. One among them is generally Indian mothers, they were separated from their children. So what would be the grounds? The ground may be they may not taken care their offspring properly, or there may be a case of abuse. So these are all the two primary grounds under which the children, they are separated from their parental custody. Okay. So the reporting agents with respect to these issues will be primarily schools and the hospital. Because in schools, it may be a curriculum which is related to their own culture setup, right? So in that cultural setup, the Indian students, they may not pick up to the potential what they have been requiring, right? So in that case, the school officials, they may thought that this is due to the issues what the children have been facing in their home, and they may be filing a case, and after the trial mostly it may be a one-sided trial. So after that one-sided trial, the parental custody is terminated and they are placed in certain the local child care units. So this is how the system has been functioning, and it has been creating trauma to not only the offsprings but also to the parents, right? So the author has been articulating the issue, and he has been shortlisting certain impact what it would be having on the children and on the offspring. So the first and foremost impact is the children are put up in local foster carers. They don't have any ethnic or cultural relationship. So the children, they actually had grown up in the Indian cultural setup. But in the host country, they may not have the cultural setup what the children are deserving, right? So it has been creating emotional trauma within the mind of the children, and it has been creating lot of barriers for their cognitive development. So this is the first impact we are having. Then the second impact, parental contact is completely barred or limited to an hour a week. So if the offsprings, if they had put up in some local foster unit, means they may not be interacted with their parents, because the parental contact is, in certain cases, it is completely barred, and in most of the cases it is limited to only few hours. So just imagine, for a week you wouldn't able to see your parents, and you are allowing for only few hours in each and every week, means how you would be feeling, right? So this was the situation. It has been happening to the offsprings who are resting in the local foster units. Then it has been creating alienation, right? So on the one hand, we are alienating the children from the parent, and on the other hand, we are alienating the children from the perspective of cultural setup, because the cultural setup what they has been growing in the local foster unit is completely different from the cultural setup what it has been prevailing in their home, right? So in these two ways, they are facing the alienation. So that's what the author has been terming the impact as a double alienation. Okay. So on the one hand, they don't have any interactions with their parents. On the other hand, they are growing up in a new cultural setup. So these two issues, it has been amounting to a double alienation to their offspring who are growing in the local foster units. So the last impact, in ordinary circumstances, when removed from parental custody, they will be aligned with extended family. So this factor is absent in foreign destinations for Indian migrants, right? So if the schools or the hospitals, if they find any issue between the children and the couple, means then they will be hand over the children to the extended family. The extended family, it may be a family relatives, or it may be a family friends. Okay, but with respect to the Indian migrant, it may not be a possible factor. So that's what the officials, they are handing over the children to the local foster units, and they have been taking care of. But within that local foster units, the cultural setup is highly different. It has been creating ramifications in the mental health of the children and also on the mental health of the parents, right? So these are the impacts it has been deriving out of the actions what the officials has been taking in the foreign destinations with respect to the children's. And moreover, the author, he also listed out certain solutions, right? The first and foremost solution is return to safe placement in home country. So if the host country, if they are finding out any mishap between the parent and the children, means better they can return the children back to the home country. So with respect to Indian migrants, the home country is India, right? So the foreign destinations, they may put the children in the foster care units which are operating in India. So this was the first solution he has been offering. Then he is stating that foreign destinations should drop their ethnocentric views. So with respect to cultural setup, guys, in each and every cultural setup, certain norms may be favorable one, certain norms may be a unfavorable one. With respect to Norway, if you are feeding the children with your hand, means it is amounted to child abuse. Okay. And with respect to Austria, if you are dictating the children to do a preparation for the exam or for any studies means, then it is amounted to child abuse. So these ethnocentric views should be dropped by Western countries, and they need to look up the issue from the aspect of cultural relativity. So this was the second solution he has been offering. Then thirdly, he is stating that separating a child from parent based on few technicalities also amounts to abuse. Here basically through the issues, the officials has been creating excess trauma on the mental health of children, right? So this also amounts to abuse. So they need to understood what they have been creating to the children. So they are not doing any good thing to children, rather they are doing bad, and they are creating an emotional trauma to the children. So this is the third solution he has been stating. First, the officials should recognize what they have been creating to the children, right? Then fourth solution, the External Affairs Ministry, they need to establish a protocol in this regard. Because in these days, several issues have been flaring up, right? So under several incidents, they have been creating a trauma to not only the family but also to the children. So that's what External Affairs Ministry, they need to come up with a protocol to prevent such incidents in the future. So this is the fourth solution the author has been offering, right? So basically guys, with respect to this article, he discussed about certain issues which are happening in the hosted destinations, and he has been listing out the impact on children and on parents, and he has been offering solutions, right? So this is the significant article from the perspective of social issues in the GS paper number 1. So let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. So this is the third article guys. RBI decides to discontinue ICRR in a phased manner. So with respect to this article, we need to know some basics about how the ICRR have been averting the inflationary trend in the economy. So we are well known about the reserve ratios of the RBI, right? We are having two reserve ratios. One is the CRR, cash reserve ratio, and another one is SLR, statutory liquidity ratio, right? So these two reserve ratios have been maintaining by RBI with respect to the banks. And generally under the CRR, 4% of the cash will be banked with the RBI. So with respect to SLR, the statutory liquidity ratio, banks can station cash or any bonds, okay? So the SLR generally will be between 20 to 25% and the CRR will be between 4 to 6%. So this is the ratio what the RBI has been maintaining throughout the year. And with respect to this article, the incremental cash reserve ratio, right? So with respect to the ICRR, the government, they made an announcement related to the withdrawal of 2000 notes from the economy. So in such a case, what will happen? The people, they will be knocking the doors of the bank and they will be exchanging the 2000 rupee notes, right? So it will be expand the potential, lending potential of the bank. So banks will be having excess liquidity. So if they are having excess liquidity means they may do a lending to the corporates. So if corporates are getting such an amount means they will do an investment and it will create a inflationary trend in the economy because demand will be shooting up, right? So basically through the ICRR, the government and the RBI, they have been sucking excess liquidity from the economy and they are curtailing the inflationary trend, okay? So this is the basic you need to know. And here with respect to ICRR, it was effective from 12th August 2023 and scheduled banks are required to maintain ICRR of 10% on the net increase in their demand and time liabilities between May 19 and July 28, 2023. So it states that the move aims to observe surplus liquidity, particularly due to the recent demonetization of rupees 2000 notes. And the RBI opted for ICRR over a general CRR increase to prevent the penalizing banks for their current deposits and to limit impacts on credit growth and the economy. So to reduce certain impacts upon the banking system, RBI opted for ICRR over a traditional general cash reserve ratio, okay? And a CRR rise would have restricted loan funds and raising borrow cost. ICRR only targets the excess liquidity from demonetization without disrupting regular banking operations. So this is what ICRR was opted by RBI. So the existing CRR remains unchanged at 4.5%. Also the RBI clarified that the ICRR is a temporary measure. Yes, in 2016 also the government, they came up with ICR, because in 2016 on November 8 the government did a demonetization, right? So in that scenario also, the government, they sucked out the excess liquidity from the economy with the help of ICR. Okay, so in that way the government, they imposed ICRR, and now they are going to phasing out the ICRR from the banking system. Okay, so with respect to this article, we have seen how the system have been functioning with respect to the excess liquidity, and why the government had brought the ICRR, and why they are going to phasing out now. Okay, so let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next one. So this is the fourth article, guys. IOC's Panipat ethanol plant to hit 100% capacity utilization soon. So Indian Oil Corporation's 900 crore 2G ethanol plant that was inaugurated in the year of August 2022 on the World Biofuel Day, so which was on 10th August. Okay, so on 10th August, IOC, they inaugurated a new plant in the Panipat, and the raw material what the plant was using is parali. So parali, I hope you all well known, it is a rice husk, right? So in the adjacent states of Delhi, especially in Haryana and Punjab, the farmers, they have been burning the rice husk, right? So it has been creating numerous problems to the residents of Delhi and in the adjacent states like UP and in Haryana also. So for that, the government, they came up with this initiative, and in that plant, they have been using the parali as a raw material to generate the ethanol. So here, with respect to the plant, we are having dual benefits. The first and foremost is husk burning reduced, because farmers, they will be getting the remuneration for the husk what they are going to sell to the Panipat's IOC's bioethanol plant. So in that way, the farmer can fetch some resources, right? Some monetary benefits are there. So that's what they won't be burning any more rice husk in the adjacent states of Delhi. Secondly, it will boost India's ambition of 20% ethanol blending by 2025. So these are the two benefits we are having under the IOC's bioethanol plant in Panipat. Then fourthly, bioethanol from this plant will help India to achieve compliance of 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 initiative of International Civil Aviation Organization. So what is meant by 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴? It is a carbon offsetting and a reduction scheme. So with respect to aviation industry, they have been contributing to excess emission and excess carbon footprint, right? So that's what ICAO, they came up with a 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴 initiative to infuse the bioethanol in the aviation industry. So with the help of the Panipat's IOC bioethanol plant, India can achieve the compliance of 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐴 initiative of ICAO, right? So this is with respect to the brief of Panipat's IOC's bioethanol plant. Now let us have a discussion on the variants of ethanol plant what we are having, right? So with respect to first generation, in the first generation plant, we were using the food crops. So the raw material may be maize or rice or wheat or anything. So if we were relying on the first generation plant for ethanol blends, then we would have faced the crunch for food crops, right? So that's what they were devised a second generation ethanol plant. So in the second generation plant, as like what we were having in Panipat. Okay, so in the Panipat, the IOC's ethanol plant, they have been using a rice husk as a raw material, right? So this is the second generation plant. So in the second generation plant, we have been using non-food grain biomass. So the rice husk and the other bio waste and all has been utilized by the plant in generating the ethanol. Then in the third generation, we have been using algae and other microorganisms. But with respect to the third generation, it will require more space compared to the second generation plant, because we need to generate the algae and the other related bioorganisms in an environment, right? In an environment specially tailored for it. So that's what it will take some space more than what the second generation plant has been demanding. Then in the fourth generation plant, it is expected that we will be using the genetic engineering techniques. So artificially, we will be creating certain microorganisms, certain raw materials in the lab, and we will be using it in generating the ethanol. So this is the idea behind the fourth generation plant. So basically, guys, with respect to the generations, in the first generation alone, we have been using the food crops. And in the second generation, the non-food biomass has been used. And in the third and fourth, we will be using algae and other microorganisms, and in the fourth generation, genetic engineering techniques will be utilized to reap the potential for generating the ethanol, right? So this is with respect to this article. Basically, here with respect to this article, we have seen how the IOC's bioethanol plant has been functioning in Panipat and what are the generations we are having in ethanol plant, right? So let us wind up this article here, and this is highly significant from the perspective of prelims. Now let us move on to the next article. This is the last article, guys. Rajasthan governor's assent sought for social security bills. And with respect to this article, in the month of July, Rajasthan government, they actually proposed certain bills in the assembly related to the social security. But the governor had to give the approval. He didn't provide his consent to the proposed bills. So that's what the proposed bills, they couldn't able to become an act. So this is what the article has been discussing. And here with respect to this article, we need to know some two bills what the Rajasthan government has proposed in the month of July. So the first one is Rajasthan's minimum income guaranteed income bill. So it is the first state to propose such a law. In the center or in the union, we are having a MG Narega Act. Similar like MG Narega, the Rajasthan is the first state government to propose such a law. So under the Rajasthan's minimum income guaranteed income bill, they are going to provide 125 labor days for each and every woman in their state. So they will be providing 125 days per year, and they are under the bill, they are also going to provide a minimum pension of 1,000 rupees for single women and disabled and for old age. Okay. So here they are going to provide 1,000 rupees as a minimum pension, and they are also going to provide employment guarantee for 125 days per year. Okay. So far under the MG Narega Act, we have been providing 100 labor days for each and every woman who are locating in the rural regions of India, right? But with respect to the Rajasthan's minimum income guaranteed bill, they are going to provide a minimum labor days of 125 every year. Then with respect to the pension also, they are going to provide 1,000 rupees for single women, disabled and old age. And with respect to the pension, the government has stated that there will be a 50% increase every year. So if the woman, if she is getting 1,000 rupees in the year of 2023 means, then obviously she will be getting 1,150 rupees in the 2024. So this is how every year the increment of 15% has been devised under the pension scheme. So this is with respect to the Rajasthan's minimum income guaranteed income bill 2023. Now let us have a look upon gig workers bill, the Rajasthan's platform based gig workers bill. Okay. So here under the bill, they are mandating the registration of all gig workers who are operating within the state territory. So the mandate is registration, because we need to know how many people they have been actively engaging in the gig economy, right? So gig economy, basically the remuneration will be paid based on the number of tasks what the worker has been completing. So this is the basic of the gig economy, right? So after the registration, each and every gig workers, they will be provided with unique ID. Okay. So the unique ID will be having details related to their birth and their name and their address, then from where they have been working, because some people, they belongs to town X and they may be working in town Y, right? So these all details, it will be clubbed in the unique ID. Then under the Rajasthan platform based gig workers bill, the government is going to establish a welfare board. Okay. So the welfare board, it will be consisting of some 13 members. So one member will be from state and 5 members will be from workers domain, and remaining 5 members will be from aggregators domain, and 1 from civil society and 1 from a domain expert. Okay. So this is how they have been devising a welfare board, and for implementing certain policies, they will be requiring the resources, right? For that, they are going to impose a welfare fee. So in each and every gig transactions, there will be a fee of almost 0.5 to 2%. So if the customer is purchasing some 100 rupees worth of product in the gig based platform means, then he will be paying some 0.5% to 2% commission for as a welfare fee to the welfare board. So this is how they have been collecting their resources. And under the bill, they are also proposed several social security schemes for the gig workers, like accidental insurance, then life insurance, right? So these all issues and all will be covered in the social security domain of the bill. So primarily they are looking upon ensuring a holistic wellness of the each and every gig workers who are operating in the Rajasthan gig economy, right? So this is with respect to the gig workers bill. And here with respect to this article, we have seen what are the proposals they made under the Rajasthan's minimum income guaranteed income bill, and what are the systems they are going to infuse the gig economy with the help of Rajasthan platform-based gig workers bill. Okay, so let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the question section. So this is the mains question for you. Despite certain ramifications, Indian-US relationship have been setting certain benchmark deals in the recent time. Elucidate it in the light of G20 summit which happened in India. So just you need to discuss how the India-US relationship has been going on since the civil nuclear deal, and what are the outcomes we derived out of the active engagement between India and the US. So this is how you need to frame the answer for this question. So this is the first prelims question for you. Consider the statements related to ICRR. Okay, it is not ICCR, it is a ICRR. So incremental cash reserve ratio. So it is an emergency and a temporary measure of RBI, right? So in the 2016 also, the government, they came up with ICRR. And now after the withdrawal of the 2000 banknotes, the government, they are also coming up with ICRR. So ICRR, it mandates 10% of stationing the net demand and the time liability with a central bank. So each and every bank, they are supposed to station almost 10% of the net demand and the time liabilities with the central bank. It is not 4%. So the conventional cash reserve ratio mechanism has been mandating 4.5% of the cash reserves with the central bank. But ICRR, it has been mandating 10% of the NDTL with the bank. So the second option is wrong. Then third one, it will be phased out in next few months. So actually guys, the scheme, it came into enforcement in the month of July and it is going to withdraw by October, right? So that's what this statement is also true. So the two statements are right. So only 2 is the right option for the question number 1. So this is the second question for you. MQ9 Reaper recently appeared in news is related to. So MQ9 Reaper drone, I already told you, because of 2 issues, it often appeared in the news. The first one is related to the assassination of 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿, military might in Iran, right? Then the second one is related to the splashing of fuel upon the MQ9 Reaper by Russians Sukhoi 24 fighter jets. Okay, so basically MQ9 Reaper is a unmanned aerial vehicle. So the answer option B is the right one for question number 2. So finally, we are arriving at the end of the discussion, guys. In our discussion, we have seen a 5 article and we had discussed about a prospective mains question and a prelims question, right? Thank you for your patience. Kindly subscribe us in all social media platforms. Press the like button. Let me catch you in another discussion in the upcoming days, right? Bye.